Hello students, good morning and welcome to your history class. So students, what were we discussing in the last class? I hope you remember. Do you remember we talked about the first trade center built here in Bengal by the British East India Company? And on the banks of which river was this factory built? Well, I'm sure you remember. So the first factory in India by the British was built in 1651 on the banks of river Hooghly, isn't it? And since then, since the building of this factory, it had been working as a warehouse, as a godown and also as office for the officials of the East India Company. And also from that time, the trade of the East India Company started to expand a lot. They also started building a fort so that they can safeguard this place from the other rival trading companies. And then we talked about the Royal Farman, the royal order which the British officials were able to get from the then Mughal Empire, the then Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. Okay, and according to that Farman or according to that royal order, now the officials or now the company would be able to carry out duty-free trade in their place. Duty-free trade means they were able to do trade without paying any taxes. Okay, and taking advantage of this, even many private businessmen who were English, even they started taking advantage of this royal Farman. And although this Farman was meant only for the company, but still even they kept on doing trade for their personal benefit, but without paying taxes to the Nawab of Bengal. So do you remember who was the Nawab of Bengal at that time after the death of Aurangzeb? Well, Bengal was then under the rule of Nawab Murshid Quli Khan. And Murshid Quli Khan did not like this behavior of the British. And so he demanded that this will not be happening anymore. The company, if they want to do trade here, then they need to do it, but by paying duty or by paying taxes as required and as demanded by the state. Because the state was going through a huge economic loss at that time because there was no sufficient revenue coming from the company's side. So, taking this into account, in the 18th century, the battle between the Nawab of Bengal and between the British East India Company started intensifying. It started to become stronger. And in this process, the Nawab of Bengal kept on asking the British to pay their taxes, kept on asking them to work and not interfere in the political affairs of the state. And during that time, remember, there were, three Nawabs of Bengal, one after the other. The first was Murshid Quli Khan, as I already told you. After his death, Alivardi Khan took over the throne of the Nawab. And after Alivardi Khan, there was Sirajud-Daulah, who took most of the steps in ensuring that the British do whatever is required for the betterment of Bengal and not think only about their own profit. And this is what we are going to study today. So today we will talk about Sirajud-Daulah, about his contribution in solving most of the problems that were happening in Bengal at that time. And also we will talk about the famous Battle of Plassey, which was later on followed by the Battle of Buxar. What were the causes of those battles? And also we will study the various results or the outcome of those battles. Okay, so let's get ready and let's get started. From trade to territory, today we will discuss about the Battle of Plassey, and then we will go on to understand about how the company officials became Nawabs. So let's begin. Let us try to first understand that how this conflict between the Nawab of Bengal and between the British started. In the last class, I told you about the three Nawabs of Bengal who were there, starting from Murshid Quli Khan to Alivardi Khan, isn't it? So Alivardi Khan succeeded Murshid Quli Khan, and in 1756, when Alivardi Khan died, at that time Sirajud-Daulah took over the throne of Bengal, and Sirajud-Daulah became the Nawab of Bengal after the death of Alivardi Khan in 1756. So Siraj-ud-Dawla was a very strong ruler, and therefore the company was scared. The company was scared because they were afraid. They were afraid that all the privileges that they have been enjoying all these days, those will be taken away by Siraj-ud-Dawla. Okay, so that is why the company wanted to ensure that Siraj-ud-Dawla is thrown out of power, and instead of Siraj-ud-Dawla, they wanted such a person to the throne of Bengal that would listen to whatever the British told them to do. In other words, they wanted a doll in the name of a ruler. So that is why it is said that the British, they were in search of a puppet king. Okay. So let us see what is the result of this want of the British. So because the British were in the quest or in their journey of searching for a puppet ruler, so that is why they went on to support an enemy of Siraj-ud-Dawla, a rival of Siraj-ud-Dawla. So because of this, the Nawab, that is Siraj-ud-Dawla, he got really angry. He got so angry that he immediately ordered the British to do three things. First was to stop interfering in the political affairs of the state. Number two, to stop building forts, which they were doing. And number three, to pay all revenues and taxes to the state without fail. So because Siraj-ud-Dawla got so angry with the British trying to search for a puppet ruler and to dethrone him from power, that immediately they wanted the British to do these three things. First of all, he ordered the British to stop interfering in the political affairs of the state. Number two, they had to stop building forts, which they were doing. And lastly, they had to pay all the taxes that were pending without fail. Okay, but do you think that the Britishers were very good in doing so? Not at all. Even before, the British did not give attention to the Nawab, and even now, during the era of Siraj-ud-Dawla, the British did not pay attention to the orders. And therefore, the British decided to start a battle against the East India Company. Okay, so because the Nawab's orders were being disregarded by the British, so now the Nawab thought that now mere talking will not do. Now it is time to start fighting with them so that we get those taxes which we are in need of. Okay, so what did Siraj-ud-Dawla do? So Siraj-ud-Dawla took 3,000 soldiers with him and marched towards the English factory at Qasim Bazar. Okay, Qasim Bazar is that place where the English factory was set up near the river Hooghly. So there he went and he locked down the factory which was built by the British. Number two, he captured or he arrested the company officials. Number three, he locked the warehouse or the factory or the godown, as I told you. Number four, he disarmed the Englishmen. Disarmed means he took away all the weapons of the Englishmen. And lastly, he blocked all the ships that were coming from England to India for trade purpose. So in order to ensure that the English are being taught a lesson, the Nawab did these 5 things. Okay, and later on the Nawab along with this troop moved on to Calcutta in order to capture that fort which was built by British. So this led to a famous battle. So when the British company officials in Madras heard about the news of Calcutta, then Robert Clive, a very young official of the British East India Company, was sent to Bengal so that he can come here and he can negotiate with the Nawab of Bengal. So there were many days of discussion. The discussions were prolonged, but the Nawab disagreed to all their demands. And because the Nawab disagreed to all their demands, therefore the companies thought of waging a war against the Nawab now. Okay, and now took place the famous battle of Plassey. And in this battle, sadly, the Nawab of Bengal was defeated. That means Siraj-ud-Dawla was defeated. Now, why was Siraj-ud-Dawla defeated? He was such a strong man. He had such a good hand, in handling the soldiers. Then what led to the defeat of Siraj-ud-Dawla? Well, the main reason for the defeat of the Nawab was that Mir Jafar, who was the commander, the leading officer of the troop of Siraj-ud-Dawla, he did not take part in the battle.
Okay, now why did he not take part in the battle? Because the British told him that if Sirajud-Daulah lost, then Mir Jafar will be made the next Nawab. Because of that, Mir Jafar could not, ignore these very tempting offer by the British. And since they could not, move over this tempting offer, that is why he believed that he should not take part in the battle, and accordingly, according to the plan, he did not take part in the famous Battle of Plassey. And this was the main reason why the Nawab was defeated. Okay, and this battle was very important for the British because it was for the first time that the British won against any Indian Nawab or ruler. So what was the result of this battle? So first of all, Sirajud-Daulah, he was assassinated, he was killed, and in his place, as promised, Mir Jafar was made the Nawab of Bengal. And why do you think that Mir Jafar was made the Nawab? The company could have taken over Bengal all over by themselves. But no, the company did not want to establish political power. The company just wanted to earn enough money so that they can do trade in India. So accordingly, they set up Mir Jafar and they expected him to do or to work as the British wanted. So they thought that Mir Jafar was the perfect puppet or the perfect toy for them, whom they can order and who will be working on their who will be dancing on the tune of the Britishers. Okay, so the company thought that with the help of this puppet ruler like Mir Jafar, it would be very easy to expand their trade. So they thought that they do not need to conquer any place. They did not want to establish political power as of now. But do you think the puppet kings always did whatever the whatever the British wanted? No. The puppet kings at times, in order to ensure that they also have got some power, in order to show the people about their dignity, they did not allow the British to do whatever they wanted. So all the time the puppet kings did not support the British. Because of this, Mir Jafar was thrown out of power. And now instead of Mir Jafar, Mir Qasim became the Nawab. So remember, Mir Jafar was moved out of the throne and in his place, Mir Qasim came. Okay, so Mir Qasim was now thought to be the puppet under the British, but even Mir Qasim tried to question the company. And this led to another battle, and that was the Battle of Buxar that happened in 1764 between Mir Qasim and the British East India Company. So in this battle, as expected, Mir Qasim was defeated, and this meant that Mir Jafar, who was once thrown away by the British, was again brought down to the throne, and now Mir Jafar was, he was bound to act as the British wanted him to act. So Mir Jafar, as compensation and also as a show of gratitude towards the British for bringing him back to the throne, had to pay rupees 5 lakh every month so that the company can carry on their trade without any problem, and also they can have money for the battles that they are yet to fight in India, and also battles against their rival companies, European companies. And also, they thought that rupees 5 lakh was enough. But later on, as they started expanding their trade, they understood that only a sum of rupees 5 lakh was not sufficient for them. And so what they did, they started controlling the various boundaries and territories. And through these territories, they started collecting huge amount of taxes. So by the time it was 1765, Mir Jafar died. And when Mir Jafar died, then the company decided not to put any more Nawab in the throne of Bengal, and then they decided to rule all by themselves. Okay, so this was all about the famous Battle of Plassey. Then again the changes, and then the Battle of Buxar. Now let us see what happened after Mir Jafar died in 1765. So when Mir Jafar died, at that time the Mughal emperor in Delhi, they decided to appoint the British East India Company as the Diwan of the Bengal province. Diwan is like a big official, a big minister, the highest post in Bengal province. Okay, so therefore the company now had enough power with them, and they had so much power that they could use all the resources that was available in Bengal. Okay, and since the 18th century, the company, when it started trade, then it had to buy goods in India in exchange of gold and silver coins. And where did the gold and silver coins come from? It came from England. But now, since the British had lots of revenue, lots of resources with them, therefore they needed no more support from the English government, from England. Okay, and hence now they supported trade and expenses of the British troop by collecting revenue from Bengal. So also the revenue that was collected, it meant that this can be now used as a means of exchange for silk and cotton in India, and also to maintain the English troops and to meet the cost of building forts and offices at Calcutta, because now they don't have to depend on the Queen of England for getting gold or silver coins to buy things in India. Okay, so the company was successfully, now they have by now established, by the 1765 era, they were successful in establishing their Diwani in Bengal for the first time among any other provinces in India. Okay. So now let us see, what about the Nawabs? What happened to them after the death of Mir Jafar and after the British were given the Diwani of Bengal? So see, the company now had lots of power because now they were in the place of the Nawabs. And even the small company officials, or we can say the servants, even they dreamt of living luxurious life, just like the Nawab did. Okay, so I hope you remember Robert Clive, isn't it? So Robert Clive, when he came to Bengal and when he defeated Sirajud-Daulah in the Battle of Plassey, then he got lots of wealth. Okay, he got money, he got land, he got many gifts from local rulers, so as to mark, show a mark of gratitude and respect towards him. So Robert Clive became very rich after the Battle of Plassey. He became so rich that by the time he left India in 1767, he managed to make a lot of property out of India. So when Robert Clive was made the governor of Bengal in 1764, he was asked to check and control corruption. But do you think he did so? Definitely not. He acquired so much wealth that later he was suspected. And later, the British East India Company thought of cross-examining him. Okay, and by the time the result came, he committed suicide in 1774. That means Robert Clive died in 1774. So the Nawabs. So who were these Nawabs? The Nawabs were those people who acquired a lot of wealth in India. Okay, and when they went back to their own places in England, then they started living a very lavish life. Okay, and they fulfilled their dream of living a life like a king, like a Nawab. They started living a very comfortable and healthy and wealthy and luxurious life way back in England. And these people were only called as the Nawabs. So those English officials who, after acquiring lots of wealth from India, went back to settle to England, they were called as the Nawabs. And these Nawabs actually lived like the kings or like the Nawabs, and they lived luxurious lives. Okay, but of course not all were very lucky. There were many English officials who gathered wealth, but by the time they went back to England, they died in India itself. Not everybody was lucky like Robert Clive, isn't it? Okay. So now quickly look at your homework. So these 6 questions are your homework for today. That is for today's class. Please go through the entire video, read the topics from your textbook, and after that attempt these questions. Okay, write this down neatly in your classwork copy. Don't forget to give the date and also draw the margins properly after each answer, as well as draw the side margins. All right. So after that you can submit it to me on or before Monday. Okay, so anyway, your last date I have kept as 25th of May, that is Monday. So, your next chapter test, let me remind you, since I won't be meeting you on Monday because it is a holiday, so your next chapter test will be on the 27th of May, that is Wednesday. And the name of the chapter is How, When, and Where, which is the first chapter of history. And the timing for your chapter test is 10:15 a.m. to 10:25 a.m. So, students, I request you all to kindly update the app at least by Sunday or by Monday early in the morning, and after that log in before 10:15 so as to avoid any confusion. And of course I request you all to be in such a place where there is good internet connection so that you all don't face any problem like the previous chapter test. Okay, so good luck students, and of course wish you all a very happy Eid.